The 4 R's. So, we just think we're here to do this little thing so we can develop our minds, so we can become these marvelous people, so we can be of use to others. That's the reason we're here. That's it. We make that our motivation. So the 4 R's, so, it's based on, I always quote this, and it's good to hear it because Lama Zopa is very direct sometimes. He says we're insane not to do this every day. And the logic of that is we understand karma, this view, this natural law, as far as Buddha is concerned, from his own observation. And the Indians before him observed this, so it's quite an ancient view, It wasn't made, I always joke, it wasn't made up by the hippies in the 1960s. It's this really extensive, vast presentation of the way the world runs, because Buddhism doesn't assert a creator. We've either got the materialist view, which means your mummy and daddy make you, they're the boss, they're the creator, or you've got God. But Buddha's neither of those. So his view, which is radically different, our consciousness goes back and back and back, and our consciousness goes forward, forward, forward. It's just the way it is. And every millisecond of every being that exists is just this natural law. It's so important to hear it in this most fundamental way. Not punishment, not reward. We're so used to hearing these things in a punishment reward mode. No such thing. There's no punisher in Buddhism. There's no rewarder. It's very powerful to remember that. So our mind goes back and back, and the law, this natural law, is that every millisecond of what we think and do and say programs us. Buddha would have liked that. So seeds in our mind that necessarily ripens in the future as our experiences. So, seeds aren't set in stone. You can pull them out, or you can make them stronger. So the seeds we want, so then basically the next piece of detail about karma is every action we do, this, karma action, starting with the mind. The mind's the boss. This labeled negative, which broadly speaking is an action motivated by attachment, anger, or one of the neuroses, It's very clear, very technical. Necessarily ripens as our future suffering because it's a harmful, neurotic, painful state of mind. And especially actions that harm others is ripen because we create karma with each other, And every millisecond of every action we do that's labeled positive, which is an action that's motivated by love or kindness or wisdom or intelligence or, generosity. It's not complicated. Ripens is our future happiness. This is a logical thing, not a punishment thing, not a punitive thing. It's logical psychologically. So we run within this law. The whole universe is driven by this law. This law is, it runs us, or we run within this law. It's a natural law. It's so necessary to hear these fundamental points, So given that, then of course, who wants suffering? Nobody, thank you. Who wants happiness? Yes, please. Well, Buddha says, well, honey, children, this is the method. First practice, first level, entry level, junior school, grade 1, at least stop creating the actions that will ripen as your future suffering. That's the first level. But then, as Rinpoche says, what these eons and eons of seeds in our mind that haven't yet ripened. And of course, we want to put atomic bombs under them. We want to prevent them from ripening. It's there's both, preventative and curative. Preventative is stop doing the same thing. If you don't want diabetes, stop eating sugar now. But then you've got to do some practices and go on a diet that will kind of get rid of the sugar in your system, so you don't get diabetes. It's really logical, psychologically. So I think of it as a process of being your own friend. We're so used to guilt and blame. We're so neurotic, so twisted inside with guilt or blame, This is such a wholesome, self-respectful attitude, practice. And I like to do it in a really simple way. We can do it with sardanas and bells and whistles and all this business. We get very remote if we do that. We keep it really simple. We're being our own friend, Because there's no actions, there's a fundamental law in Buddhism, there's no action that can't be changed. There's nothing set in stone. If a seed hasn't ripened, you've got a chance to put a bomb under it and get it out before it ripens. That's the plan, So given that the mind just naturally is driven by this law of karma, and as many moments as there are is as many seeds we plant, it just follows logically. I mean, we're not rapists and terrorists and murderers, but we're still ordinary sentient beings driven by attachment and fears and drama. So naturally, we're sowing negative seeds. There's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just the way it is. Join the universe. But at least we're conscious. This is the miracle, So this little practice to finish the day, before you're too tired, of course, don't nod off to sleep doing it. You've got to be involved in it. So we'll just do it very simply, just a few minutes. We can even do it. You can even do it in 3 minutes, sincerely, but we'll give it 25, 22. So the first step, there's a different way you can do it, different order, but this order is really practical. Well, they always use the analogy of if you've eaten poison, and this is the process. The first thing is you recognize you've eaten poison. Oh my God, I cannot believe it. What an idiot. I didn't realize what I was doing to myself. So this first one is regret. It doesn't mean, oh, I shouldn't have done that. That's anger. It doesn't mean, oh, I'm a bad person. That's anger. Not those. It's very honest, it's very calming. It's like, yep, I did it. What a dummy. Yes, I killed, stole, lie, cheated on the boyfriend, badmouthed the next door neighbor, or raped and killed and murdered, whatever it is. Nothing can't be purified. This is why my friends in prison were so blissed out to have this practice. It's so confident making, So you think it's helpful to think of certain things today and in this life, particular things. Of course, every millisecond of our day, of our life, we're creating karma, but think of the main ones. And then you think of all the times you must have done those things that you've forgotten. The seeds are still there. And then if you're really brave, you can think, and since beginningless time. So we just contemplate ourselves for 1 or 2 minutes. 1 minute is enough. Certain things today we've done. First, actions with our body and speech that have harmed others. Bad mouthing, lying, abusing, criticizing behind backs. Killing perhaps that ant, you didn't kind of try hard enough to save it, ran it down the sink. Whatever. Cheated on your boyfriend, whatever it is. Certain things you've done today with your body and speech. There's certain things, like, especially when it's our mouth, we're good with our mouth. So just contemplate for a second those actions and think. Think the actions first, just in your own mind. Maybe you've broken your vows, just think actions today. And then you think, I regret it. And what that means is, you're being kind to yourself. Out of my foolishness, out of my old habit, my ignorance, I did that dumb thing. And I regret it because I don't want to sow those seeds in my mind. I don't want them to be nourished, and because I don't want suffering. So this is like, it is compassion for yourself. We feel very ashamed of this in our culture. We think it's somehow wrong. We misunderstand. We have to have this compassion for ourselves first. That's what they mean by renunciation. You're renouncing suffering and its causes. Why? Because you're sick of it. You've got to be sick of it. I regret because I don't want future suffering. Then think all the things we must have done in this life, especially particularly, I always think of my abortion when I was 23, out of my ignorance, I didn't hate that baby in my womb. I just knew I didn't want it. I was ignorant, And I asked the doctors, and the doctor did it, and the nurses did it. So I sort of helped them create negative karma too. So I regret that because I don't want the suffering. Then all the other things we've done in our life, killed the ants, killed the people, whatever we've done, out of our ignorance. I regret from the depths of my heart because I do not want future suffering, because I am sick of suffering, All the things we remember, and of course, all the things we don't. Just because you don't remember eating that chocolate on that day doesn't mean it's not going to come out in your skin in one moment. It's just, we don't remember, but they're there. So then if we've got, the idea of past lives makes sense, we think, and whatever I have done since beginningless time, with my body and speech that have harmed others, they've sown seeds, and these seeds, I do not want them to ripen. No way. I regret from the depths of my heart, because I'm fed up with suffering. I'm sick of suffering, And then your mind, all the delusions, all the ego grasping that believes in the intrinsic me, and then the attachment, the bottomless pit of neediness to get what that fantasy me wants, then the aversion, the upset, the irritation, the annoyance, the anger when it doesn't get what it wants, all the other nonsense in our minds, the deepest primordial habits. I'm sick of these for sure, So whom can I turn to? Whom can we turn to? Where's the doctor? Whom can we rely upon? Well, here now we visualize above our heads the Buddha in this Bodhisattva style. Same Buddha, just different kind of clothes, the Bodhisattva aspect, looking more glorious and beautiful. Lift our hearts, And he's holding a bell in his left hand, which is wisdom, and a dorji in his right, and they're crossed at his heart, which represents the two truths, Buddhahood combined. Radiant light body sitting in above our crown is Bodhisattva asset, so beautiful. And if we have a spiritual teacher, that makes it really, really personal for us. Our Lama, our spiritual teacher, it's their mind manifesting as Vajrasattva for our benefit. solely for our benefit. How kind. And how fortunate to have a decent doctor, someone we can rely upon, whose medicine we can use, because we do the work. We rely upon them, but we do the work. And in the second part, we rely upon suffering sentient beings, in the sense that in order to now have compassion for others, we need to know about suffering sentient beings. So think of those we've harmed: the rats we've killed, the cockroaches we killed, the boyfriends we cheated on, the baby we aborted, the sentient beings. But they created the karma. Don't forget, don't feel all guilty. That baby who came to my womb created the cause to come to my womb. And due to their past killing, they created the cause for me to kill them. It's interdependent. We're in this sort of like this scenarios together, you know. Guilt is thinking, I did all the bad and I'm so bad. That's not appropriate. That baby could not have been aborted if they didn't have the karma to be killed. It was a mutual thing between us. Karma takes care. So the beings we've harmed, yes, now have compassion. Because yes, we did harm them. We know what it's like to be harmed. Such compassion must purify for their sake as well. And then if we're brave enough, have compassion for those who've harmed us. Because why? Because they're going to suffer in the future. That's unbearable because of their ignorance. It's another third step, the remedy. So just use our creative imagination. And this is the thing I think we talked last before, but it's important to remember, as Rinpoche says, because of the power of mind, the more you want to purify, the more you imagine purifying. It's your mind. It's not fantasy. It's your mind. Your mind created negativity. So the strength of your positivity is what counteracts it. It's very logical. Instead of thinking, well, I'm just bad anyway. What good is the point of thinking about it? I'm still bad. This is just not true. It's just not true, you know. So have determination and delight and wish to transform our mind. That's all purify means, you know. So we're using this kind of creative way of thinking, of visualizing from the Buddha, so compassionately sending nectar, hose, very powerful hose, you know, those very powerful hose of white nectar that arcs around from his heart, enters our crown, and absolutely fills us, forcing out all the imprints, first of all the harm we've ever done since the beginning of this time with our bodies, like filthy liquid disappearing into space as this nectar fills us. How marvelous. Totally transforming us. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva tenopatita dido me bhava sutoshayo me bhava suposhayo me bhava anurata me bhava sarvasiddhi me prayata sawa karma sutsa me sitam shriyam kuruhung ha 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 bhagavan sarva tathagata vajramami mutsa vajrabha mahasama sattva ahung pe. Om Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva tenopatita dido me bhava sutoshayo me bhava suposhayo me bhava anurato me bhava sarvasiddhi me prayasa savakama sutsa me siddham shriyam kuruhung ha 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 bhagavan sarva tathagata vajramami mutsa vajrabha mahasama sattva ahung pe. Om Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva tenopatita dido me bhava sutoshayo me bhava suposhayo me bhava anurato me bhava sarvasiddhi me prayasa savakama sutsa me siddham shriyam kuruhung ha 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 ho bhagavan sarva tathagata vajramami mutsa vajrabha mahasama sattva ahung pe. All the lamas say, you know, that the Sanskrit, these syllables, they don't translate them into Tibetan. The Sanskrit syllables have this incredible power. The sound of Sanskrit apparently is unbelievably pure and subtle and clear. I mean, I don't understand it, but that's what they say. So by saying those sounds, we purify our mind and the wind energies that our mind is connected to, which is our body. So it even purifies our body eventually, you know, this is the point. Now again, Lama Chenrezig so compassionately sends nectar from his heart that arcs around, enters our crown, and this time forces up to the top of the body, the surface, all the junk, all the as filthy liquid, like as Lama Yeshe says, when you turn on the tap in the sink, all the junk comes to the surface. It's all the imprints of all the harm we've ever done with our speech, as we as clever humans, you know, all these lifetimes as humans. All that nonsense disappeared into space, forced out like filthy liquid through the top part of our body. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Cheno Pachita Dita Mebava Sutrashayo Mebava Subhashayo Mebava Anorata Mebava Sarvasini Me Prayasa Sawakama Sutta Me Sitam Shyam Kuru Hung Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Chajagada Vajramami Mutsa Vajrabhava Mahasama Sattva Ha Hung Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Cheno Pachita Dita Mebava Sutrashayo Mebava Subhashayo Mebava Anorata Mebava Sarvasini Me Prayasa Sawakama Sutta Me Siddham Shriyam Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Chatagata Vajramami Musa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ha Hong Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupala Vajrasattva Cheno Patita Dita Me Bava Sutrashayo Me Bava Subhashayo Me Bava Narato Me Bava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayasa Sawa Kama Sutta Me Siddham Shriyam Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Chatagata Vajramami Musa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ha Hong Pe. So happy, so full of this nectar. Kind of relieve the burden. We all can't help. We all have guilt. It's natural. As long as you've got ego grasping, as long as you believe in an intrinsic me, there is guilt. It's just normal. It's the way the deluded mind works. So it's very powerful to think this way because it counteracts guilt. It counteracts blame. It counteracts hopelessness and I'm bad, which is literally not true. It's an exaggeration, you know. It should lighten us. So again, this time Lama Chenrezig compassionately sends beams of light. They arc around, enter our brow, enter our crown, and instantly fill us. And as Lama says, the second you turn on a light in the room, instantly the darkness is dispelled. How amazing. All the delusions that are not at the core of our being. This is Buddha's amazing finding from his own experience, that these neurotic states of mind, because of their misconceptions, they're not intrinsic in us. They're not at the core of our being. This is something stupendous that Buddha has found to be true, which is enormously encouraging. So ego grasping, that believes the intrinsic me, which gives rise to attachment to get what the me wants, which gives rise to anger and upset when it doesn't, and all the other 73,997 loads of nonsense in our mind, disappeared into space, full of this radiant white light. How amazing. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Cheno Patita Dita Me Bava Surashayo Me Bava Subhashayo Me Bava Anoratra Me Bava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayasa Sawakama Sutta Me Siddham Shriyam Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Charagara Vajramami Musa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahong Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupala Vajrasattva Cheno Patita Dita Me Bava Surashayo Me Bava Subhashayo Me Bava Anoratra Me Bava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayasa Sawakama Sutta Me Siddham Shriyam Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Charagara Vajramami Musa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahong Pe. Full of this light. Achieve liberation, imagine. But now there's one more level, which always seems very busy, but this is the way the lamas do it, so we better stick to the lineage. You do all three together, okay? Light, nectar going down, nectar coming up, maybe you do them in a row, you know, and then light coming, purifying even the subtlest imprints. They call this removing even the obstacles to omniscience. This is what we achieve once we've also realized bodhicitta. These two together, this is Buddha. So now we achieve Buddhahood, imagine. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupala Vajrasattva Cheno Patita Dita Me Bava Sutrashayo Me Bava Subhashayo Me Bava Anorata Me Bava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayasa Sawakama Sutta Me Siddham Shriyam Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Tathagata Vajramami Musa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahong Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupala Vajrasattva Cheno Patita Dita Me Bava Sutrashayo Me Bava Subhashayo Me Bava Anorata Me Bava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayasa Sawakama Sutta Me Siddham Shriyam Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Charagara Vajramami Musa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahong Pe Om Vajrasattva Samaya Manupala Vajrasattva Cheno Patita Dita Me Bava Sutrashayo Me Bava Subhashayo Me Bava Anorata Me Bava Sarva Siddhi Me Prayasa Sawakama Sutta Me Siddham Shriyam Kuru Hong Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sarva Charagara Vajramami Musa Vajraba Mahasama Sattva Ahong Pe. Now Buddha, imagine. So now, the fourth step, the most important, Pabonka Rinpoche says, is the determination to change, resolve. So if you can reiterate your lay vows, you can, I will never kill, I will never steal, I will never lie, I will never, cheat on my partner if you have one. If you don't have a partner, you're not cheating on your partner if you don't have one. You might just, by jumping around in different beds, you're just increasing attachment, but you're not breaking your vow. So don't get confused. You don't have a vow not to have sex. You just have a vow not to cheat on your partner or to rape people. That's not cool. Or to misuse your body based on sexual attachment. And then no alcohol and drugs if you've taken a vow. You know, if you haven't taken a vow, that's fine. You know, you can have your shot of heroin every day. It's all right. Well, it's not, but it's not a vow. Get the point. So anyway, if you reiterate those vows, great. But the thing, you know, but we've got all these other vows too. We might have tantric vows, bodhisattva vows, all our commitments. We've got lists and lists. So we'd be very precise with ourselves. As Lama Zopa says, don't lie to yourself. That's silly. You make a decision. Or even just your old rubbish habits, you know. For 24 hours, I will not badmouth my boyfriend. I will shut my mouth for 24 hours. If you can't do it even for that, say 5 minutes, you make a clear decision. You know, you're becoming conscious. You're in charge of this process. You make a decision. So just make your own decisions, just for a minute or two. What you're resolving not to do and for how long. Or, you know, maybe you're lazy, you always put your practice off. That's very common for all of us. We're all attached to our comfort zone. So a decision like that, okay, for one day, I will do my practice properly. For one day, I will not put it off. For one day, I won't, you know, first rush off to my video games instead of my practice or instead of my job. Little baby things like this that are all the old habits we've got. And be humble with ourselves and be sincere, you know. Then when you make a decision, that's when you'll do it. We all know that. So then Lama Vajrasattva is so delighted, you know, really think of the Buddha as real, especially if it's our Lama. It's so real, not some abstract drawing in a book, you know, or some abstract piece of clay. It's a picture of the Buddha at a Bodhisattva level, you know, and our Lama is that for us. Makes it so personal. We've got hearts, you know, we need to use our heart, open our hearts. Devotion is so important. It's like juice that nourishes our realizations. So necessary. So the Buddha is so delighted. Guru Vajrasattva is so delighted. So the lotus he's sitting on dissolves into his body and he dissolves into white light and just absorbs through our crown. And we imagine the Lama's body, speech, mind, Vajrasattva's body, speech, mind merge with mine. So my body, speech, mind, Lama's and Buddha's same. How marvelous. This is who I am. So for a minute or two, just a minute or two to finish, think yourself as vast as the ocean, as vast as space. No thoughts. Zero, as Lama Yeshe says. Clear, light, vast. Just imagine. So now just become conscious again, just be aware and think that, you know, you try and think like bodhisattvas do, which is your body and your speech. That's for other people. Bodhisattvas don't need bodies, but they take bodies consciously to help others, you know. Instead of feeling this big lump of self-conscious me plodding through life, think your body and speech is what others see and hear. So that's for their benefit. Just that thought is pretty incredible. And then your mind, that's your business, baby. Watch it like a hawk. So in this way, every minute of the day becomes practice for you and for others. So simple. And now having done this practice, we just delight and go to bed with a happy mind now, as Lama Yeshe says. And have confidence in this process. Have confidence in our own potential. Have confidence. That counteracts guilt and hopelessness, and which exaggerates our badness. It's one of the worst things against ourselves. It's so terrible, you know. So be delighted. And that's it. Gone like a dream, our 30 little minutes. Okay, or 28 or something. No, 26, I was late. I've cheated you of 4 minutes. Okay, darlings. John Chup Sem Togren Poche, Ma Ke Panum Ke Guchig, Ke Panyam Pa Me Pa Yang Gong Ne Gong De Pavasho, Gewa Di Nudu Dag, Lama Sange Drugyone, Drawa Chikyang Malu Pa, De Sala, Gurpa Sho. Thank you, precious people. Much, much love, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Venerable.